I want you to go in that bag and find my wallet.
Which one is it?
It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
Hey you guys, got a really, really cool opening to share with you today. I cannot take any credit for this. I've nicked it entirely from Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, who's a Ukrainian Grandmaster in the top 1,000 players in the world currently. And I'll put the link to his original video. But this is just an absolute beauty. And it's something that you can play as black, and it's against the Italian. Okay, so it's kind of an anti-fried liver in a way. So let me take you into the start. So we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, okay? And then we could get into, there's a bunch of things that you can do. You could have the Spanish, you could have the Scotch, you could have pawn c3. But what we're looking at today is the Italian game, all right, from the black perspective. And this continues with knight to f6. Now, this is called the two knights defense, okay? And some people might call this a fried liver invitation, okay? Because you're inviting white to dive in with the knight. This is the knight attack in the Italian game, okay? And the knight's obviously threatening to capture on f7, or the bishop is threatening to capture on f7. Now, a lot of people will be familiar with the Traxler counterattack, okay? With bishop c5, and then if the knight comes in, you sack the bishop there, and if the king takes, which is a mistake, then you have knight takes on e4, no longer protected by the pawn, and that can lead to a whole load of fun. But this one is different, okay? In this one, so Smirnov says, you take the pawn on e4. And now you can see the eval bar here has gone evil bar all the way down to 2.8 in white's favour, right? However, that is if you're an engine, okay? And there's only one good move here, actually, from white, which is to capture with the bishop on here. And we will get onto that, right? But this is apparently called the Ponziani-Steinitz Gambit, okay? But I think that from this point on, we should just call it the bad motherfucker. It is absolutely evil. Okay. Now, from this point in the real world, so I've checked this on the Lichess Players database, and in the real world, black wins 54% of the time from this position, because white very often doesn't play the best move, which is bishop takes f7. Right. Now, what does white tend to play? Well, we shall see, okay? So it looks as though you've just blundered a piece. So the majority of beginners and intermediate players will simply capture the knight on e4. And now you can see that anything other than d5 is losing for black, but you have d5, okay? And you have a pawn fork on the knight and the bishop. Now you can go a few different ways from here. Let's say the knight just retreats. Obviously, you just grab the bishop and happy days. Okay. Now, what else from this point? You might have bishop takes pawn, for example. Okay. So white realizes he's going to lose the piece back, so he takes the pawn. You then recapture with the queen. Right. Now, the most likely move here, because you're attacking the knight, white doesn't really want to retreat the knight because that will block in this knight. Doesn't really want to retreat to here because he'd be then behind in development. Okay, so the most likely move is to bring out the other knight to c3. All right, and then you can simply drop the queen back. The computer prefers queen to e6, but you just drop back. White castles. You develop your bishop, and you've got a perfectly good situation here. You've got 7 pawns on the board, and you've got the bishop pair. You're going to be able to castle. Let's say they play d3, you just castle, and you've got this nice control over the center. Your knight can come in, your bishop can come out. All is well. And the computer here has black at 1.5. pretty much whatever white does from here, white is going to be on the back foot and is going to be struggling. Okay, so let's go back. So that is if the knight takes the knight. Big mistake. Huge, right? So we don't want to be doing that as white. Now, the second line that we want to look at is the very tempting knight takes f7. Okay, and you will find this quite a lot of the time. Now here we go straight in for the attack. Okay, queen h4, and you're simply threatening mate in 1 with queen takes f2. Now if your opponent is completely dumb and just grabs the rook, you win the game outright. Okay, so they can't do that. So knight takes h8 is bad. A more likely move that you will see is g3. Okay, and here, look, it's -7. Okay, so it's got black is totally winning here. So you will actually get this quite frequently, and black from here wins 77% of the time at the intermediate level. So what you do here is you capture with the knight on g3. Okay, obviously we are now attacking the rook. We're also attacking the bishop. We're also attacking the knight. Okay, now one mistake you might see from white is to capture the knight, you then capture the rook. Okay, and that's not fantastic either, because the king's going to have to move. You might even then capture the queen, but you can, let's say king goes here, you can come back in with your knight, and the king now has to abandon the defense of the queen. Right? There's no other. King has to come like here, and you grab the queen and go on to happy times. Okay, so let's retreat. Okay, so we're not going to take the rook. If they play g3, you capture with a knight there. Okay, so h takes g3 is not a good idea. What about if they capture the rook now? If they capture the rook now, you can go along with queen e4 check. You're attacking the bishop. You've got the king in check. You're also attacking the rook. Okay, and this is just totally winning. 23 in black's favour here. Okay, so bishop e2 is pretty much forced. The king can't move. If the queen blocks, you capture the queen. So the bishop's going to go to there. Now you grab the rook, and it's mate in 2. And it's good night white. Right, now, so from this situation, after we take the pawn, what about if they take the f-pawn? Okay, if they take the f-pawn, same deal. Queen e4 check, 3-way fork, and it's all going to end very horribly indeed. If the queen blocks here, then white's just going to lose the rook. Okay, so they might try king f2. And if king f2, you have the aggressive bishop c5 check, right? So you've got the queen slicing down here, you've got the bishop slicing down here. There's very little that can be done. If the king goes back to here, you grab the rook, king's forced to move, and now you go in again with this knight with check. Again, the king's going to be forced away from the queen. You grab the queen and go on to win the game. So absolutely amazing. All right, now let's go back to this situation. Okay, so we come out with h4. This is again with knight takes on f7. Okay, so if the knight doesn't take there, this is also quite a common move, right? This is actually the second most popular move, to bring the queen out. So you can see white sinking. White sinking, oh, I want to protect f2. There's still a checkmate threat, but this is totally, totally awful, right? Because you now play knight to d4. You're hitting the queen. You're also hitting c2 with the threat of a fork on king and the rook. If the knight now comes back, you just grab the knight. Okay. White may come in with a check. You just dodge out the way. White's got nothing. He's got one pawn here that maybe he can take. But let's say they castle. Rook f8 hits the queen, and everything is just going to go horribly wrong again. Queen takes there. You come back with a knight, and the queen is actually here completely trapped. Okay, let's say they push g3 and try and counterattack your queen. You just play queen h3, and you're absolutely fine there. Now, what about if they, instead of capturing the rook, instead of bringing the queen out, what about if white just castles in this situation? Okay, well here, you've got, Smirnov has got this amazing knight takes f2, attacking the queen, right? And if rook takes, again, bishop c5. So you've now pinned the rook on the king, okay? The queen comes out to defend the rook, looks perfectly sensible. Second attacker, rook f8. The knight is pinned, right? You're attacking this, you're attacking the rook, you're attacking the knight, you're attacking everything, okay? g3 tries to hit your queen, and you just clear up the board, right? Bishop takes rook with check, queen takes. Queen takes bishop, right? Remember, this knight is still pinned. This knight now can't move, okay? They push there, you grab the knight, and you're up, what, a full rook at this point in time. And I believe you can still probably castle from here as well. So, absolutely stunning. Now, let's look at, from this situation, if bishop takes. Now, this is by far the best move. You can see bishop takes f7 here. On the eval is about +3 for white, okay? So bishop takes is the only reasonable move. Now, here king e7 is forced. It's the only move. Okay, now, this is what you have to know, right? If your opponent is savvy, okay, or a relatively high-rated player, they could play the move d3 or the move d4, right? And both of these are basically winning for white, right? So, but here's the thing. 2/3 of the time, white will capture this knight. Okay? So, that's what you're basically dead lost. If they play d4, you can see here, whatever black does is going to be losing, and pretty much the same with d3 as well. But, you know, I mean, you're threatening things like there, but then the bishop's going to come down and take, and you've got your king and queen in line. It's not very nice at all. Okay, so that's basically the idea. If they move the d pawn, they unleash this bishop, and you are going to be in a world of pain. But most of the time, you're going to see this move. Okay, 2/3 of the time, you will see that. And now what you do is you just grab the bishop, and here, what have we got? 3 minor pieces, 3 minor pieces, 7 pawns. Material is actually equal. But the most common move here is queen f3 with check. You know, developing, you know, we're ready to castle. We want to think about getting minor pieces out at some point in time. But you just drop your king back to e8. Okay. And now, let's say d3 is played, trying to get this bishop out into the game. You're not worried. We play d5 and hit the knight. Got nice central control here. The knight might rotate back here onto g5 where it's protected by the bishop. And now, queen f6. And black is actually in a very good position. Yes, our king has moved, so we can't castle. But let's say white goes ahead and captures the hanging pawn. You bring in your knight, and you're now attacking c2 with the threat of simply winning the rook outright. Okay, queen c4 attempts to defend that pawn, but now b5. This is a deflection tactic. Okay, we're attacking the queen. The pawn's defended by the knight. So what does the queen do? Right, grab the pawn on c7, but now bishop d6, and what can the queen do? Right, not much. Go back up to c3, maybe. And now, this is amazing, beautiful deflection, deflecting the queen away from the defense of c2, pinning the queen on the king. Queen's pretty much forced to take. You capture on there, and you've got a family fork, king, queen, and rook, and you are simply going to go on and win from that position. So, absolutely stunning situation here. Okay. Yeah, when we've looked at really every eventuality that's in there. The only thing that you have to remember, let's go through it again, is you don't have to be too afraid of this at all. Bishop takes is the only good approach, but you will not see that most of the time. Okay, most of the time you're going to see knight takes here, and now you know what to do. I've got the whole analysis board here, so there, this is forced, and now the only thing to worry about is white moving the d pawn. If they move the d pawn, I've had a look through the games on Lee Chess, and you're buggered basically. So that is your whistle stop guide to the bad motherfucker opening. Absolutely lovely. I cannot wait to try this in Blitz or in Rapid. I think at my level, you know, you should win just a lot of the time. It really is absolutely crushing unless white knows what to do. Okay, so there you go. And big nod again. Thank you to Grandmaster Igor Smirnov for letting me know about that. I just don't. How the hell did I not know about this? Right, everyone knows about the Traxler. Okay, so the Traxler goes like this. It's quite common. Let's say they capture with the knight, and this, and it's very, very similar. You know, you get these extremely aggressive lines. Again, the queen coming out to a4 in a lot of the time. Lots of fun. But this one, which we are now calling the bad motherfucker opening, is something to be really reckoned with. Absolutely, 100%. Okay, so yeah, this is not Traxler. We go here, knight there, and we take on there. The Ponziani-Steinitz, aka the bad motherfucker. All right, there you go. Thought you'd enjoy that. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Again, big nod to Grandmaster Smirnov for letting us know about this one. Absolute beauty. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.